Hi guys, I'm Shmee and you joined me rather far away from where I wrapped up yesterday's video. So I was in my garage in London lining up all of my 5 cars together for the first time, which was a rather tedious task. It actually took a lot longer than I expected it was going to do, but I realised I hadn't driven the FF too much recently. So now you join me 500 miles north in Scotland. I'm just south of the Cairngorms where it is cold, but not as cold actually as it was in London. It's foggy, but I'm in the countryside and I'm surrounded by some quite nice roads. But the drive up yesterday, 500 miles or so, well, slightly less, I think it was about 470, 480 to where I came to. It got me thinking, 9 hours at the wheel of the FF, about what's going to happen in the future. When the time comes, not now, what on earth am I going to get to replace this car, the Ferrari FF? I've had it for about 18 months, I've done 12,000 miles in it, and this is another 1,000 or so, probably a bit more on this trip, and I'm also going to take it down to the Alps for a skiing trip slightly further through the winter season. It's running on the Pirelli Soto Zeros, the winter tyres, it's 4-wheel drive, it can carry 4 people, luggage space, it's got a ski through load system, it's also got one of the best sounding V12s known to mankind, the 6.3 litre, 660 horsepower Ferrari V12. But there's nothing else that I can possibly see at this stage that I'm going to get to replace this. But it's not that I'm trying to do that in a hurry, but eventually I'm going to want something new. It's a 5-year-old car. I've had it for 18 months. I quite like to change around quite quickly, as you know, unless it's a sort of collector car. But this isn't a collector car. This is the car I guess I use kind of as a daily when I'm not driving the Focus RS. It's a bit more elegant, a bit more stylish. It's obviously the Ferrari brand, but this really has just about everything in one car. And I think a lot of people ask me if I could only keep one of my cars, which would it be? And it's always, to me, the FF, because you have the noise and the excitement of driving a supercar. It's a Ferrari. You also have the practicality, the luggage space. You can fit 2 grown adults in the back with no problems at all. You have luxuriousness and refinement. If I come and show you the interior, the comfort of it, everything about this car is just completely all round. It does everything. It ticks every box. The only thing it doesn't have is an updated nav system and stuff like that. It's all a bit slightly old and out of date, but you've got this decent amount of luggage space. You can fit tons in here. Just open it up for a second. You can fold down the seats, put all your stuff through. No shortage of space whatsoever in the FF. And I'm going to take it for a drive in a moment and sort of reflect a little bit more on this around some of the roads up here. But it's going to be a struggle for me. It's going to be a real struggle when this car comes time to go, because, it's not only the car, it's also the colour configuration. This colour, Le Mans Blue, was a very expensive factory option. Of course, I bought the car second-hand, so it had already been spec'd, but it's £20,000 as an option to have this lovely, lovely dark blue, and I think it might even be the only Le Mans Blue FF in the UK. There are TDF blues, Tour de France blue, which is a little bit lighter, but the combination of that colour with the crema interior is just something that it's going to be very hard to replace with a car that, in my mind, looks so good. And I know this kind of shape, the hatchback 3-door bread van shape, is highly controversial, very Marmite, to use the expression. People love it or they hate it. I love it, that's why I bought the FF. But really, I was thinking through some options yesterday, and it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to jump in now. Firstly, I'm going to fire it up just because who doesn't like the sound of a V12 coming into life? But take it for a little drive and kind of think about some of the options here. And really, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Oh, warning, danger of ice. Yes, it is cold. Let's turn the radio off. Okay. It's so good. So, let us get rolling. We've got some lovely roads around here. It's very picturesque. Maybe I'll take some photos as well. And enjoy the drive. Let's get started with like a quick summary of what this car is like to drive. Not a full review because we've done that before. Just some sort of small impressions. And basically when you're cruising around like I am right now in 30-mile-an-hour limits, steering is really light. It's very quiet, even with the exhaust valves opened how I have them. The sound is not intrusive. Gearbox is very gentle. It's super easy to drive. It's comfortable. I've got heated seats. It's actually the only one of my 5 cars that has heated seats at all. 3 of them have bucket seats and one's an old Mini, so that makes this exclusive in that respect. But when you get out onto an open road, the characteristics change. You can go up from wet into comfort mode or into sport mode, changes the throttle response, feel the shift times if you're in automatic. You can put your foot down and you start to get some of that V12 going on behind you, which is just one of the best things ever. If I press auto, we can go into the paddles. You've got the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, fully controllable now. And this car transforms. It goes from that comfortable, quiet GT car into a bit of an animal of a sports car. And that is what I love so much about it. You know, an SUV can't do that. Listen to it. Like, it's so cross-charactered. There's just nothing I've found that does the same thing. Apart from probably the obvious, the GTC4lusso, and I'll get to that in a second, just when I finish this nice bit of twisty driving road, because let's face it, who doesn't want to enjoy a good Scottish road, even if it's cold and slippy? But that's where the all-wheel drive, just listen to it, the all-wheel drive and the Soto Zero winter tyres do their thing. Okay, right, so let's talk GTC4lusso then. Come up upon a car that has its fog lights on, illegally actually, because it's not foggy enough to need them. But we'll let him off. A lot of people don't necessarily know the rules. So, GTC4lusso. It is the natural successor to the FF, obviously. That is what Ferrari have released it as. It is, however, if you spec it, something nice, personalised like this, new £300,000, and no doubt after a year or two ownership, that will be worth £200,000. So you can kiss goodbye to a six-figure sum of money. That is not necessarily my idea of fun. Now, I would love one because it takes this and it upgrades it. It gives you all the new infotainment. There's one downside, which to me is it goes a little bit more towards GT and a little bit less towards sports car, which is what I love so much about this. It's quieter. The press release was all about the air conditioning being quieter. The valves are much more intrusive, but of course you can open those, as we know from this. But it is the successor. It's slightly refined. I don't necessarily think if you put an FF and a GTC4lusso next to each other, Joe Public would know which was the newer car. I think I quite like the quad lights of the Lusso, but then I like the front end of the FF a little bit better, so swings and roundabouts. I find it very hard to justify that cost of change for not that much. I mean, this will have lost, in my year and a half, let's say £20,000-30,000. In the next year and a half, it might lose another £20,000, but that's pretty insignificant compared to 100. So maybe I could wait for a used GTC4lusso, but that's quite a long time away. I don't even know if UK deliveries have actually started yet. They must have done about now, but it's going to be a while before a used car is on the market at an affordable price. I will obviously keep my eyes on the market. So by the time I think I'll want to move this on, at the end of this year, let's say, the Lusso won't yet be in range. So we'll have to ignore that as an option. We've got things like the Bentayga or the Aston Martin SUV that's going to be coming in due course. That definitely takes my interest because I've had such an enjoyable ownership experience or purchasing experience with Aston Martin that the idea of having another in my garage is really quite appealing. It's been a wonderful brand. Just looking forward to seeing that car in a little bit more detail. Now this, by the way, is where I should take it out of sport mode, or at least press bumpy road. There we go, to make the suspension significantly softer. If you have it in comfort, it sort of defaults to soft, because the roads are pretty rough and choppy up here. But an SUV doesn't have this kind of driving characteristic. It's never going to be as exciting when you hurtle it around on a countryside road, which is something I truly like about this. I've driven it up here with luggage, cruising on the motorway. Now that I'm here, I can have fun with it. It's the same kind of niche that normally you'd get in an F12 and AMG GT, but this has that driving style with 2 extra seats and more luggage space. The E63S, that was an awful lot of fun, but again, you could put 100 grand into that and it'll be 50 in no time at all. It's a mainstream, mass market, depreciating car. It's not the sort of, I guess even the specialness of a Ferrari. This is really in a different league from that. I'm interested to know what other options there are. What else is out there that could fit that need? The 4 seats, luxuriousness, but fun, engaging, sporty, quick drive, supercar brand, and some practicality and luggage space. It's that package which I think this car is so unique in the way it does. Be interesting to see what the Lamborghini Urus does when that comes out, but again, SUV, it probably won't have the same driving style that this has. So it's a quirky one, really. It's a really strange car, and I bought it, as I think you probably remember, on a bit of a whim. And it's turned out to outlast 2 cars that I took delivery of afterwards in the LT Coupe and the GT4, and I don't really see it being replaced with anything in the immediate future because there's just nothing that does this. Maybe I'll get super lucky and somebody specs, say, a GTC4lusso from new in Le Mans Blue with a Cremor interior and comes and offers it to me in a year's time with 5,000-6,000 miles on it for a good amount off list price, and I won't take a second to say yes, I'll do the upgrade. But for the time being, it's basically a one of a kind. It's going to sit alongside the AMG GTR in my garage, I think. They're both GT cars, one obviously with 4 seats, one with 2. But those are my 2 sort of mile-crunching, luxurious road trip machines in the garage. But I'm completely stumped for ideas. I don't know what else would replace the FF other than a GTC4lusso at this moment in time. Just brainstorming a little bit of Bentley Continental GT, but it's just not me. A Rolls-Royce Wraith or Ghost, but again, it's just not quite me. I wouldn't mind a Rolls-Royce at some point. In fact, I'd really like a Rolls-Royce at some point, just to experience that kind of car. I get Joe along to drive it every now and then, Joe Achilles, private chauffeur. Yeah, just enjoy it. But for the time being, the FF has this world dialed down all on its own, as a car that's so varied in its breadth of capabilities and so much fun while still being so practical. But do let me know in the comments, do let me know what you think could at some point replace the FF. For now though, I'm going to continue my adventure through Scotland, go find some more nice roads. So thank you very much for watching, guys. That's it for now. I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.